a sweet grandmother telephoned St. Joseph's Hospital. She timidly asked, "Is it possible to speak to someone who can tell me how a patient is doing?" The operator said, "I'll be glad to help you, dear. What's the name and room number of the patient?" The grandmother, in her weak, tremulous voice, said, "Norma Finley, room 302. The operator replied, "Let me put you on hold while I check with the nurses station for that room." After a few minutes, the operator returned to the phone and said, "I have good news. Her nurse just told me that Norma is doing well. Her blood pressure is fine, her blood work just came back normal, and her physician, Dr. Cohen, has scheduled her to be discharged tomorrow." The grandmother said, "Thank you. That is wonderful. I was so worried. God bless you for the good news." The operator replied, "You're more than welcome. Is Norma your daughter?" And the grandmother said, "No, I am Norma Finley in room 302. No one tells me anything." Yom Kippur is referred to in the Torah as Shabbat Shabbaton, the Sabbath of Sabbaths. It is the holiest day on the Jewish calendar, a day where we do not eat, drink, bathe, anoint ourselves with perfume or cologne, engage in sexual relations, or wear leather on our feet. This solemn day gives us the chance to look back on the past year and to set our sights on the upcoming year. Through prayer, study, and reflection, let us make the most out of the gift that God gives us each year, so that when the shofar is sounded later tonight, we will hopefully feel cleansed of all our misdeeds of the past year. May you and the members of your family be inscribed for a happy, healthy, and sweet new year. Since COVID-19 prevents us from seeing a Broadway show, I am going to bring Broadway to you. I have had the good fortune of seeing the amazing play Hamilton on Broadway 2 times. My family has really taken a liking to the show, and its music can often be heard in our house. We even streamed it the first weekend possible this summer. No one else was in the room where it happened, the room where it happened, the room where it happened. No one really knows how the game is played, the art of the trade, how the sausage gets made. We just assume that it happens. No one else is in the room where it happens. This song is the key to understanding what is, for me, the central message of Hamilton. The entire play is built around the relationship between Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr. Hamilton, the young, brash immigrant from the Caribbean, experiences a rise from obscurity to become a central figure in the founding of our country. Burr, who becomes something more like a footnote, in the end, will be most remembered for shooting Hamilton. Throughout the play, Burr expresses his surprise and dismay that the novice Hamilton somehow has managed to succeed where Burr has not. His frustration is captured in this song, in which he seems mystified as to how Hamilton managed to cut a deal with Madison and Jefferson to move the capital to the Potomac in exchange for control of the nascent nation's banking system. At the end of the song, Burr laments, "I want to be in the room where it happens." Aaron Burr may want to be in the room where it happens, but he never is in that room for one simple reason. Burr has no reason to be in the room. He has no vision, no purpose. Remember Burr's advice to Hamilton? Talk less, smile more. Don't let them know what you're against or what you're for. It does not matter to Burr which way he goes, whose side he takes. Burr wants to stand out, but he doesn't stand for anything as long as he can get ahead. And since Burr only cares about getting ahead, he has never contemplated what he really wants, what his own purpose is. In another song, Burr sings, "And if there's a reason I'm still alive, when so many have died, then I'm willing to wait for it." Burr has no passion in life, no sense of higher purpose. He is just waiting as if it will suddenly hit him out of the blue without any effort on his part. Wait for it becomes a refrain associated with Burr throughout the play. Burr is willing to wait to discover the reason he is alive. He will wait his whole life. Not so Hamilton, who sings that just like his country, he is young, scrappy, and hungry, and he is not throwing away his shot. Sure, Hamilton, just like Burr, wants to make a name for himself, but Hamilton knows what he wants that name to be, what he wants to be remembered for. Throughout the play, we hear again and again about Hamilton's ideas, his vision for the nation that he is helping to create. And when Hamilton sings, "I'm not throwing away my shot," he doesn't just mean his shot at fame. He means his shot at accomplishing his dreams of a better life, a better society, a better nation. The question that each of us must ask ourselves on this holiest day of the year is, who do we want to emulate? Do we want to be like Aaron Burr or like Alexander Hamilton? Are we waiting for life to happen to us, or are we making life happen? Are we going to sit back and be passive, or are we going to throw ourselves into life and be active? Do we know what we are passionate about? Do we know what our priorities and our goals in life are? Do we know what the legacy is that we seek to leave behind? And what are we willing to do to make that legacy a reality? The great German Jewish philosopher Martin Buber, author of I and Thou, wrote, quote, "Every person born into the world represents something unique. If not, they would not have been born," end of quote. That is to say, there is a reason we are here, a purpose we are meant to fulfill. Our challenge in life is to uncover that purpose and to work for its realization. Each of us must put in the time to look within ourselves and to do a cheshbon hanefesh, an internal audit, an accounting of our soul. This is what these days that began with Rosh Chodesh Elul, the month before Rosh Hashanah, and the 10 days of repentance are all about. During these days, we are asked to examine our character, to look honestly at our flaws and our failures, and to ask ourselves how we will seek to mend them in the coming year. And until we can confront our own moral failures, we cannot ever achieve true tshuva, true repentance. A full soul accounting requires that we look not only at our character deficits, but also at our character assets, to embrace and nurture those nobler aspects of ourselves that help us, in the words of Hamilton, to rise up, to strive to be our best selves, to be ready to sacrifice for the good of a higher purpose. On these days, we must ask ourselves how we can utilize our character assets to invest in those around us and create a better world. How do we live up to the potential that God has planted within us and to our role as God's partners in the divine plan? When God commands Abraham in the book of Breshit, in the book of Genesis, to leave his native land and to enter into a lasting covenant with God, God says, V'heyeh bracha, and you shall be a blessing. According to the commentary in the Eitz Chaim, to merit the promised reward, you must so live as to be a blessing to the world. God says to Abraham, and consequently to each of us, in your quest to uncover your life's mission, I can offer you this much guidance. Your purpose, in whatever forms it takes, is V'heyeh bracha, to be a blessing. The question is, what does it mean to be a blessing? There's a story of a Jew who was wandering deep in the forest when he came upon a house nestled among the trees. What a strange place for a house, he thought. He circled the house and the door was open, but it seemed that no one was home. He knocked at the door, called out, but no one answered. Curious, he stepped inside. The first floor was one large room filled with tables overflowing with oil lamps, and they were all burning brightly. He tried to count how many there were, but they seemed endless. And as he stood there, an old man appeared by his side. "What are these lamps?" the Jew asked. "Ah," said the old man, "each of those lamps represents a human soul." "You mean," asked the Jew, "there's a lamp there for every human life in the world?" "Yes," said the man. "Well, then," said the Jew, "where is mine?" And the old man pointed out a shiny silver vessel spouting a glowing oil wick. "That flame," said the man, "is you." And as the Jew watched, another one of the flames weakened, flickered, and went out. The old man pointed to the extinguished lamp and said, "When the flame dies out, that life has reached its end." The Jew stood there gazing at the candles for some time, trying to comprehend the meaning of this strange experience, when he noticed that the flame in his oil lamp was also weakening and sputtering. He panicked, fearful of death. What do I do? He cried out, but as he turned around, he saw that the man was gone. With no one to watch and not wanting his own light to extinguish, the Jew picked up a nearby oil lamp and he lifted it so he could pour some of its oil into his own. And just then, the old man reappeared, gripped his arm like a vice, forcing him to lower the other oil lamp. It does not work that way, said the man. In order to make your light burn brighter, you must pour the oil from your lamp into others. You must pour the oil lamp from your lamp into others. This is what it means to be a blessing. On this day of Yom Kippur, we take the time to reflect and to ask ourselves how we can make other lights burn brighter. How will we be a blessing in the coming year? What are the gifts that God has given us that we can nurture and use so that we can be a blessing to others? What difference will it have made that we lived? What legacy will we leave behind? Whose lives will we have touched? And if we can figure that out, we will know our life's purpose, and we can then carry out our mission during this new year and beyond. Just like in the song in Hamilton, this year let us make this room or the room where you are watching, where it happens. On this holiest day of the year, let us make our own backroom deal with God, a deal only known in the room in our hearts. Let us pledge to God that we will recognize our purpose, be the best that we can be, and in so doing, be a blessing to others through our actions and our deeds. And when we become a blessing to others, may we ourselves be then worthy of God's blessings as we attempt to bring light into a world that is in need of repair and healing. Gemar Tov.